19 passes made by the jets, going on for 30 to 40 minutes is what we're learning. What sticks out to you in this video?
Well, two things. First of all, this obviously was not an accident. This was a deliberate act, and I think Oren did a good job of sort of laying out the context for that. But what makes this important is not the loss of a drone, but this is what it means to defend the so-called international rules-based order. International airspace, freedom of navigation, claims to territorial waters. All of these things are being played out now because of Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea and their illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. So this is a symptom of this. And of course, the Chinese will watch to see how we respond to this as well because of their own illegal claims in the Pacific.
What do you think of how we have heard from the Pentagon, from the Defense Secretary, from the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, coming out very cclearly and talking about this now a couple times?
Yeah, I've been impressed, actually. Secretary Austin, of course, conveying the seriousness of this, Chairman Milley, but also not overreacting. This is not the kind of thing where now we're going to go up and start kinetic engagements against Russian aircraft. Instead, what Secretary Austin said, all right, we're going to put another drone back up there. This is international airspace. We were doing everything according to law. And so this is how you protect and defend the use of international airspace, which affects all of us, not just there in and around Ukraine. It also is important, I think, to see the example of the United States with transparency, immediately releasing the video saying, this is what happened. And you and your team there have done a good job of making it clear what happened. You can be sure those two Russian aircraft have video capability. And if they were, in fact, not guilty of what it's clear that they've done, no doubt the Kremlin would have rolled out that video immediately to make their case. And we haven't seen any of that. This is the typical Kremlin playbook of deny everything, distort, distract, to try and change the narrative. And of course, if we don't respond by putting a drone up again, then this kind of gives weight to their claim that their airspace around Crimea is actually theirs. So we are correct, and the Secretary is correct to go back in and challenge that. But I think there's no need to overreact or go try to shoot something down, but we have to make sure we continue to uphold freedom of navigation and use of international airspace. This is a reckless, unprofessional, and unsafe act by the Russian pilots. I have not been impressed over the past 14 months with the level of training and discipline of Russian pilots. It's one thing to take off and land and fly close to something, but I mean, when you talk about getting up next to another aircraft, getting as close as they did there, with turbulence, things that can happen, the chances of a mistake are very high. And I don't know that they intended to actually hit it. I'm sure that what they wanted to do was cause it to fail or to disrupt the operation by dumping fuel on it, which in itself, obviously that was a deliberate act. To actually hit it, of course, we don't know. But I mean, when you get that close, those are the kind of things that can happen. And again, this is the same military that is committing war crimes every day in Ukraine. And it reflects, I think, also a very brutal, ruthless sort of society there. So I'm not surprised that their pilots would be a reflection of that in terms of undiscipline.
This is typical of shadowing and intercepts in Europe, Brianna, truthfully. What you see is Russia does this all the time in international airspace, on top of international waters. Russia often considers the Black Sea their national lake, which is dead wrong. It doesn't apply that way. But you will see Russian aircraft continuously having these kinds of intercepts or shadows, but nothing like this. Airplanes get close. You certainly will see, there have been years where there are over a couple of hundred of these kind of things, incidents occurring every year, and it's normal procedure. But when you get this close and you interfere with flight paths of other aircraft, either manned or unmanned, it's certainly not under international law, and it's certainly going to create quite a distraction in this campaign. But as Oren just said, it's in western, possibly in western Black Sea region to the west of the autonomous region of Crimea.